Hi people, it's me Anja, my pronouns all she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new recent release video. The first book on this list is called Camp Prodigy. This story is a middle-grade contemporary graphic novel following two non-binary main characters who are both navigating their anxieties as well as their identities while at a summer orchestra music camp. This book was absolutely so good, and it was so awesome. First of all, the illustrations were so pretty and so vivid. The two characters came to life so well. I love reading stories about young queer youth, especially non-binary transgender children, because I think, and I've said this multiple times before, that transgender children deserve safety and value and so much more love than they've been getting lately. I think this book was incredible. The characters were humanized and they felt like real people. I loved the art and the plot and the story and even the musical elements. Everything about this book was so good and it was so wholesome and just really, really awesome. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 4 to 5 stars and I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Glitch Girl. This story is a middle-grade contemporary following a young, neurodivergent, transgender main character as she is navigating her ADHD diagnosis, gender, and isolation through the lore of her computer game, which was an interesting concept. I enjoyed this book and I definitely rated it 4 stars because I enjoyed the characters and the queer representation and the ending. However, I felt like this book kind of dragged on too long because it takes place over the course of 2 years, which means that the middle dragged on too long and felt unnecessary, and it felt like I had to work too hard to get the happy ending. Does that make any sense? I wish that this book was shorter, honestly, and took place over 1 year rather than 2. I understand that it's supposed to be a memoir or something like that, or at least it's inspired by the author's life, which I definitely understand, but I felt like maybe some of it should have been cut. I don't know. It's also quite heavy as well, which, don't get me wrong, I understand is very realistic. So please take note of the trigger warnings before you enter this book. I don't know if anything I said really made any sense, but basically overall, I rated this book 4 to 5 stars, and with that, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Trouble with Sunshine. This story is a middle-grade contemporary following a young main character who must live with her estranged aunt in the middle of nowhere after her mother suddenly dies. I liked this book and I rated it 3 stars because I appreciated the main storyline with her navigating grief and horses and her relationship with her aunt, and then why her aunt is estranged and her aunt's relationship with her mother and all of that. I think that was very well done and wholesome and very good. However, I felt like all of the B plots, her storyline with her new friends and everything, felt very underdeveloped. And I just, the disconnect, I don't know. It just felt very disconnected. And I felt like the B plots should have been and could have been way stronger. Does that make any sense? Anyway, I like the characters and the plot, at least the main plot. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 3 stars, so take that as you will. The next book on this list is called I Can't Even Think Straight. This story is a YA contemporary following a black gay main character who's struggling between staying in the closet with his best friend, who does not want to come out due to his homophobic religious parents, or coming out. And honestly, I didn't really enjoy this book as much as I was really hoping to. I was hoping that it would be better than Only on the Weekends, and it wasn't, I think. Actually, I don't know why I disliked Only on the Weekends or why I rated it 3 stars, but I digress. I also rated this book 3 stars because I felt like the author tried to do too much with it. First of all, I felt very disconnected from the main character's friends. The difference between the best friend mentioned in the synopsis and his other friend felt very, like, disconnected from each other since the two of them don't have a relationship. Does that make any sense? I don't know if it does. Speaking of the endgame romance, I thought that, like, they took too long to get together, and I wish that I had seen them together as a couple towards the end. I don't know. Overall, I think this author tried to do too much with one character who didn't even feel like a person. Like, the majority of the characters felt so one-dimensional in the first place. So maybe that's why the plot felt weak as well. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. I rated the story 3 stars, so take that as you will. The next book on this list is called Run Like a Girl. This story is a YA contemporary following a young black main character who must move in with her divorced father, whom she hasn't seen in years. And she must join, like, a new school, which is mostly white, and a new track team, the boys' track team, mind you, because they don't have a girls' track team. And basically, she's a fish out of water, which I absolutely love. That trope is my favorite. I love it so much, and I think it's because I love to see how characters adjust to change, especially when the rug is pulled out from underneath them. But anyway, I digress. I thought this book was so good. I loved the plot and the characters and the romance and the family dynamics and everything about it. I thought it was so well done. I also love characters on teams, especially in sports, because I love group dynamics, and this book felt so good and so human and just so honest and just so well done. Like, everything about it felt so realistic. And with that said, I rated this book 4 to 5 stars. I think it's so underrated, and with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Case of the Contraband Closet. This story is a middle-aged contemporary following a young main character who is navigating, like, catching a thief at her school while also navigating friendship drama, and I love a good solid mystery. I started this book because I thought that it would remind me of Get a Clue, Drew St. Clair. What's that book called? Drew St. Clair Gets a Clue, whatever. I thought it was so good and so well done. I love a mystery. I love it when authors bring characters from different groups at school or whatever to find a common ground, the Breakfast Club-esque type of story, because I loved the friendship that formed between all of them, because all of the characters individually are so great and so well done. Like, everything about this book was so good. The plot was so engaging. The friendships were so wholesome and so wonderful. I think this book is the start of a new series, which is very exciting because I will definitely be reading the sequels. So with that said, I rated this book 4 to 5 stars, and I would definitely highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, is called Den of Riles. This story is a YA fantasy following a young main character who's attempting a daring casino heist during a high-stakes tournament while being caught between 2 warring brothers. This book was one of my most anticipated releases of 2025 because Jessica's previous 2 YA fantasies have been so unique in the past, and I knew that this book would be no exception, and it absolutely was. I rated this book 4 to 5 stars because, first of all, the world building is so atmospheric, so magical, so well developed, so vivid. The setting was so good. The characters are so well developed and so distinct. The romance had me kicking my feet and giggling because it is literally so intoxicating. And I'm so excited to see what will happen next in the sequel. I think this series is a duology, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I loved this book so much. I love the characters and the plot and the world building and everything. This book is so underrated, and Jessica deserves so much more hype than she's received in the past. This book is absolutely so good, and I really enjoyed it. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 4 to 5 stars, I would definitely highly recommend it. So in conclusion, I can't complain or really comment on July as a reading month yet, since it's literally only the 7th. But anyway, in conclusion, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the ghost emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!